So most companies still are struggling to even visualize their logistics operation. They haven't invested in ERP connections, TMS, WMS, basic technologies that have been around for a very long period of time. But at the end of the day, companies in this part of the region, they want to reduce cost and they want to be more effective and efficient in the way that they operate.
We're here at the Logistics World Summit and Expo 2025, and we're interviewing speakers that have a lot to say. Here we have James Lisica. He's originally from Australia.
That's right.
And he came all over here to Mexico to give a keynote on profitability and sustainability.
Correct. It's a long way to travel, but worth it. It's been a great event so far.
So glad to hear that. How was your keynote?
It was really interesting, actually. It was on how to make sustainability profitable, which I think is a huge area in the logistics and supply chain industry. So a lot of people were very interested. Opportunity and danger. It's expensive, it's challenging, and a lot of companies are really struggling to understand how to do it. So it was a good opportunity for me to share my experience over 25 years working in the industry of how companies look at profitability and make it sustainable.
So I think there's always a disconnect whenever you want to go green or want to do sustainability initiatives. There's this misconception that will cost more than the benefits that you will see maybe in the short term or mid-term. How can we change this perspective from our leaders?
Well, I think that is a perspective at the end of the day, because people think about sustainability as something that they have to invest in. They either have to invest in technology or they have to do things differently at the end of the day. So, but one of the biggest things in my speech was just being more effective and efficient in the way that you run your supply chain has the biggest impact on your carbon footprint. So you don't necessarily have to go and invest in new technology.
Exactly.
You don't have to invest in new ideas and opportunities. Just doing the basics better will allow you to reduce your carbon footprint, but also improve your overall profitability and reduce your cost.
And what are some of these quick wins, so to say, within the optimization of our operations in supply chain?
So, we had voting within the session. So I got people to vote on what are the initiatives that they're working on at the moment, all the way from everything from 3D printing to drones to baseline data and visibility. And the number one response was data and visibility. So most companies still are struggling to even visualize their logistics operation. They haven't invested in ERP connections, TMS, WMS, basic technologies that have been around for a very long period of time. So at the end of the day, I think the opportunity for quick wins is to get more connection, utilize providers that can allow you better visibility of your carbon footprint, of your operation, and that will allow you to reduce your cost, consolidate more effectively, utilize your network more effectively, and at the end of the day, those technologies have been around for a long time, so they don't cost much money. So using that data within logistics to really understand your cost and to understand where you're inefficient, to help you to then connect with the planning department, with the manufacturing department, in order to be more collaborative in the way that you execute, in order for logistics to be more effective and to plan the utilization of assets more effectively.
Additionally to this, I would say that, for example, in emerging economies and in Mexico, the regulation and the compliance required for companies to do better in their operations and in their environmental impact is low to non-existent.
Agree.
So how can we overcome this, or how, despite this, how can we thrive in sustainability efforts?
Well, I think if you look at it from that point of view, some of the more elaborate and expensive innovations, so blockchain and, as we said, machine learning, advanced analytics, all of these types of areas maybe aren't the right investment. But at the end of the day, companies in this part of the region, they want to reduce cost and they want to be more effective and efficient in the way that they operate, because that's what their customers are asking for, that's what their suppliers are asking for. So maybe changing the way that you look at your transport contracts with your 3PL organizations. So looking at not just how do we look at the cheapest possible price, but building in gain share type agreements, optimization initiatives, joint investment in visibility or technology that will help you to be more effective together are things that you can do very, very quickly without having to really, drive much for regulation or need much support from third parties or government.
Agree. I think something that we have been hearing from other speakers in this conference is that we often struggle within our teams to make sustainability priority one.
Yes.
And some agree that the best strategy is to have a dedicated team. What's your take on this?
I think if you look at one of the major problems within supply chains is the fragmented nature of many different teams. So you have a planning team, a manufacturing team, a logistics team, and even within logistics you have a warehouse team, a transport team. So adding more fragmentation to that I don't think is the way to go, because then at the end of the day you end up with teams having different metrics that compete against each other. So you have the sustainability team that typically is driven by carbon reduction and targets that are based around sustainability, but then you have the operations team that's trying to reduce cost, get service and delivery. So I feel like sustainability should be built into the very basis of what you do. So training your team in order to allow them to understand sustainability, building metrics into their operational KPIs, and investing in education and allowing the organisation to support them to make those decisions is a better way to go than separating a third team.
And if a company were to start building this strategy, what would be your advice for them? Like, where should they look? Should they start broadening their experience and their knowledge first before building that kind of, we'll call it a training course for their employees?
I think it depends on the size of your organisation and how advanced you are. If you're a smaller organisation and maybe not very advanced in the use of new technologies and innovation, there's many programs out there that you can utilise. Universities, third parties, governments are all looking at sustainability as a target and educating industry. So at the end of the day, there is opportunities to use external sources to do that. As you move forward, if your organisation is driven by sustainability, so it's built into your corporate targets, your products are, your consumers are very driven by how green your products are, how sustainable your products are, then that is worth the investment. So then you should invest in your own internal learning, your own internal teams, and your own internal improvement, if you like, around how you develop your people in order for them to train others within the organisation.
From your experience with working with multiple companies throughout the years, is it really true that consumers prefer greener products?
Up until 5 years ago, I've been talking about sustainability for 15 years and technology, and everybody would always talk about sustainability. It was a great thing, it was a marketing thing. So marketing departments would say, we're going to reduce our carbon footprint by 2025, we're going to use less water. But at the end of the day, they didn't know how to do it. Now what's happened is that is actually being thrown over to supply chain. And if you look at all of the major companies around the world, companies like Unilever have seen 33% growth in their green products. The pandemic really opened up to consumers where things come from. So they're starting to realize things don't just appear on the shelf.
Exactly.
They come from another country, they come from, the raw materials are sourced somewhere. And I think consumers are getting smarter, and we're seeing in supermarkets, across most industries, they're prepared to pay more to make a green decision. Anywhere up to 15 to 20% in some cases. So now the consumers are finally making that change. It's forcing governments and industry to make that change. Whereas before, it was a nice to have, but now it's a must have.
I agree. Do you think there's a role or influence from supply chains to consumers to also start demanding greener products? Or an opportunity there?
Yeah, I think if you look at the supply chain industry, all the way from digging up raw materials, moving them to a manufacturing point, moving them to distribution, delivering them to end users, this industry has the largest carbon footprint in the world. There's no other industry that has the amount of carbon output and impact on the environment. It's that simple. If you look at the end-to-end supply chain. So there is a need and an ethical role, I think, for supply chain leaders to educate consumers more on where things come from. And I think this whole move towards instant demand, people want things immediately,
exactly.
And that's very difficult to do in a sustainable and green way. But if you can educate people that if they, buy things in a different way, or they're prepared to wait for a certain period of time, but they will get a greener result or a more sustainable outcome, I think people will make that choice. If you give your consumers a more sustainable way, you also save money. So if you say to your consumer, you order one thing from me, but why not order 3 others rather than order them as separate deliveries? Number one, you're going to reduce the cost because you can consolidate, put it in one package. You can share that cost reduction with your customer to drive the more sustainable choice. And if you're consolidating, at the end of the day, you're reducing your carbon footprint anyway. So it's a win-win.
Agree. Now, for going back again to what we were discussing, for a company that has not sustainability embedded in their DNA, and for people that are working on pitching to executives things to do to reduce their impact, because I feel like there are many of us that are in that point.
Agree.
What would be your advice for them to actually gain the support from leadership?
You have 3 types of organizations. Companies that are very focused on physical assets, very manual in the way that they operate. They don't invest in technology and in supply chain, and they see supply chain as a cost. Typically for those types of organizations, talking to them about how many trees you're going to save, or how much benefit the environment's going to get from investing in sustainability is not really going to be an option. So for the business case, you would bring it back down to, how do I reduce cost and optimize and use my assets better by investing in more integration, or better visibility will help us to not only reduce our carbon footprint, but to consolidate, to drive down costs and give you a higher profit margin. That way you'll get the right buy-in, and then you can use sustainability as a bonus. For other organizations that have heavy investment in technology, where the organization sees supply chain as a competitive advantage, that's a different story. It becomes about being advanced, being a leader. That's the culture that you have. So typically that business case and story is more about how you can use advanced technology, advanced analytics, and new capabilities that are out there in the market to be seen as leading the pack, to be seen as innovative, because typically that's what your customers want and what your board wants, so you're more likely to get investment. And then the last one is the companies that are very focused on ethical. So their products are based around green, they want to be green, and that's all about collaboration. So I can't be any more green within my own organization. I need to now collaborate with my customers, with my suppliers, with governments, with innovators, with technology startups. So that really, the business case is all around how you use collaboration to drive innovation and to lead the charge, if you like, in sustainability. So they would be different business cases depending on your culture and your structure. And that's the most important thing, understanding truly where your organization's at and what's important to them. So I think you can look at it in 3 different ways.
We're coming to an end to the interview. What would be the last message that you'd like to give our listeners, the people that are here at the event, for them to perhaps reflect on, start do it as an inception in their mind?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I left the keynote on was become change at the end of the day. So we as supply chain leaders are finally in the spotlight. We finally have the opportunity within the business to be recognized. The general public in the industry is understanding what supply chain is. So we are now finally in the spotlight. We have a podium to stand on to say, this is an important industry. This is an exciting industry. This is something that really affects all of us at the end of the day, whether it's food, clothing, whatever you like. So at the end of the day, be inspiring. Inspire the next generation. Inspire the people around you. Inspire other departments to become that change, to invest in supply chain, to learn about it, and all the exciting things that go along with that. Because over the next 10 years, it's going to be an exciting ride with all the new technology, all of the new changes. Supply chain is going to be front and center as much as marketing or IT or any of these other areas.
I agree. So be the change and inspire others to be the change.
Exactly.
Thank you again, James.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time.